an open door. Are you up for seeing where it goes? It's time, you know, my sparrow. The cage is not your home. The lines may blur, my flower. Always remember what you're worth. It's worth it. Let go of your fears, 'cause we're leaving them all behind. Spread your wings and fly. No, it's gonna be alright. Follow me to my favorite tree. Well, I'm offering a steady hand. I could be your security. There's no guarantee on anything. And I'll take care of you along the way. My love, one day at a time, will leave our troubles behind. And you'll take care of me along the way. My love, one day at a time, will leave our troubles behind. Here with you in our treetop view. Well, it takes me to when I was young. I fell before, but I can't ignore that it's nothing like I'm falling now. No, it's nothing like I'm falling now.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Currently not using the greatest mic in the world, so if you cannot hear me, please let me know. I'm showing audio on my end, so if it's not coming across, just let me know. I think I've got a little bit of music still in the background. Yeah. If that's too loud, let me know. Sorry, my wife's currently getting out of the shower, so you probably hear that in the background. Alright. Cool. So, I don't see anybody saying that the audio's not coming through, so we'll trust that that is good for now. I'm just using the camera audio, so hopefully coming across. If you're watching, make sure you share. It just helps more people see this. I just do this once a week. Try to do it about once a week here and there as I can. Gives me an opportunity to work on some of my personal projects. The one that I'm currently working on, kind of giving a little bit more time to, is the Forest Guardians. I've been working on it for a while now. Let me cut that down just a little bit more. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to be working on today. I've got a couple different setups to be able to share what I'm doing with you guys, so bear with me. I'm kind of figuring out a lot of this as I go. So, and we may get some nice thunderstorms too this evening, so that could be fun. It's always a good time to draw in a thunderstorm. Yeah, so this is a very laid back stream. It's not going to be like a lot of fancy back and forth. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, but this is kind of how we're going to start. I've got a top-down view here, so you can see what I'm drawing and working on, and then I'll switch back and forth. Like if I want to go digital for a little bit, we'll go back and forth there. Is my camera cutting out on me? Let me check. There we go. Cool. It's shaking like beyond all. There we go. Calming down. Can you see it? Cool. Yeah, so a lot of what I'm going to be doing today, this evening, I've got some sketches and stuff here that I've done. Got some character work that I'm kind of trying some different variations for and whatnot. A couple different scenes that I'm kind of toying around with early on for concepts. I recently redid the, I don't know why that keeps cutting out. There we go. I recently kind of rethought my process and my approach to the story of the Forest Guardians. So a lot of that's going to be coming out probably today is what I'm going to work on, is going through a lot of that and figuring out where I want the story to go through concept sketches and different things like that. So that I can kind of know where to take the story as we go along. Got some little gnomes here. So yeah, a lot of this today is just going to be me laying out like, okay, what kind of things do I need to think through? This was a sculpture idea me and my dad had. But yeah, what I'm going to work on today is like architecture, different things, some other character sketches and concepts, stuff like that. So yeah, we'll kind of get stuck into it. I'm just going to take probably 5 or 10 minutes to just warm up and kind of loosen up a little bit. Like I said, I really only do this like maybe once a week, really sitting down like this. I draw throughout the week and kind of work on things, but and if you need to, you know, music turned down or off or whatever, just let me know. I just figured I kind of go quiet sometimes, so it'd be nice to hear that stuff in the background. So yeah, I'm just gonna, this might be too small for anybody to see, but it's really just for me. So yeah, here's some things that I'd like to work on today. I think I'd like to kind of get an idea for architecture. I'd like to get a few character designs for druids, which are characters within the world. And lastly, I think I just want to look at some alternative like landscapes. One of the things that I come across a lot when I'm working on this project is I kind of hit the same sort of landscape in my head, and so I want to find a way to sort of expound on that and build on it as well. So taking the stereotypical forest scene that I have in my head and kind of like, how can we take that a step farther? What are different, maybe a ravine, maybe, more sparse meadow type area, things of that nature. Hopefully this does not keep cutting out on me the entire time. That would be unfortunate. There we go. Sorry for the shakiness. I've got the phone on a boom arm. So, so let's just start with some architectural elements. One thing about the world that I know is that there's a lot of like ruins and stuff, and so we're gonna have like a lot of like dilapidated stone structures mixed with sort of new construction type things. So think a lot of like, twisted trees. And again, a lot of this is very sketchy, so just to kind of get the juices flowing. Kind of thinking like, stones intermingled with kind of twisted trees and roots kind of growing all into each other. And I think I solidified a style last, I don't know if it was last week or when it was, but I have a better idea of the visual style that this is going to be. For anybody who doesn't know, what I'm working on now is I'm doing concept sketches and warming up for the Forest Guardians. It is a graphic novel that I am working on. I'm hoping to have Volume 1, Issue 1 done for next year. I would like to take it to Mysticon, where I'm going to be a guest of honor there. So it would be nice to kind of have something to show people, and something that I could have as a product as well that I could sell there. This camera's not focusing. Here we go. But yeah, so right now, just warming up. I'm just trying to get some juices flowing. If you're listening to the music, if you can hear it, it's a band called The Hunts that I found on Artlist, and I used them for my short film that I'm working on called Fellow Man. I really like their music. They're very folk sort of. I don't even know how to describe it. So again, here what I'm doing is just warming up. This is not necessarily going to be used for anything in particular. It's just to kind of help me get loose. So I'm working on actually rewriting the Forest Guardians. So I wrote it a couple years ago in 15 days, and I don't like, since then I've had new ideas and I've better ways of telling the story that I want to tell, and so I'm currently working on restructuring the plot and rewriting it, and something that's actually going to honor my original idea even more. I was just talking to Layla about it, my wife. She gave me some good ideas. One of the biggest things is I didn't have a clear antagonist. It was more of like they were fighting against an idea. So one of the things I want to do is work on antagonist and work on just sort of the overarching plot. So yeah, okay. I'm getting a little caught up in talking here, so I'm gonna focus on drawing some more stuff. So think about architecture. One of the things I want to think about is like, you see it so much, people have these trees, right, like that go way up, and then you have these sort of like spiraling, things with like these roofs that jut out, and then you've got these little doors, and you've got, windows, and it's so easy to do that, and I'm not afraid to do that. I just want to try to find something that's maybe a little different, a little more unique. So what I would like to have is sort of like maybe relying more on like the fallen trees, because the idea in this world is that like the trees are all sizes, so you have these massive trees. So I was kind of playing with it back here, where possibly like if this is all one tree that's felled, maybe there's like a little village that's built inside of the decaying tree, or even like here where you have this like shelf in a cliff, or like maybe that's even a fallen tree or something, and then you have this village like underneath it, almost like when you pull up a log and you see like all these bugs and all these other things like crawling in and like basically living there. Basically that idea where it's like an ecosystem within nature, not civilization coming in and like taking over nature. So symbiosis is like a big part of what I want to convey in this too. So one of the ways that I think I could get away with it is like having like unique structures, possibly where like you do have like this long dead tree, almost like Shrek's swamp or whatever, but then you have this like entrance, or maybe even thinking larger scale than that, and then you could have like maybe even these like little mushroom shelves that are then like other little balconies and things. Yeah, I like this kind of idea. One of the shows that has inspired me recently is Wandla on Apple TV. And I just feel like that show has a really good visual style, and the way that they sort of like creatively world build this like crazy ecosystem. So yeah, I kind of like something like this. And then if you're looking at like the back side of this, you could even have it like, or honestly, you could have like another side of that tree. So like if you think about this as like all one thing, you could have a more structured approach. And I think that's one of the things that I kind of want to lean into with this is potentially having, like, getting away from that cookie cutter approach of like it's all one structure style, like you would see in a city or something, because you in the forest, it's all organic. It's very little, right angles and all that stuff, and very seldom does nature repeat itself. So I really want the idea of like uniqueness to shine through. So I like this idea. I mean, you kind of have maybe a bit more of a structured front here. And I'm not sure what that would look like yet. Whether it would be like a wooden structure, or maybe you've got like the perspective is going to be off on this, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm just kind of going with it. Very quick sketches just to warm up, get the juices flowing. And maybe something, to that effect where it's like, maybe even start playing with like architectural elements, or so I always kind of default to this like Tudor style where you have like, the structure, and then you have like these, structural elements, and then you have this old medieval style, and then you've got the stucco, and then the boards, and then, it's just a very easy kind of medieval fantasy trope to go off of. So I'm trying to fight against that a little bit. And so I don't really think that I want to have too many, like, at least in this, maybe not for all of it, but for the majority of the world, I don't want to have a very, like, structural approach. And so maybe even we just think about what they're building this out of too. Maybe they're walling it up. So almost like an insect, or like a beehive or something would do. Maybe they're just like, hey, let's get a bunch of stones and I don't know if that would make sense for all of it, but again, I might be getting a little lost in the weeds here, but Let's just quickly hash out this. Let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, I'm just getting started here, warming up with a few things. We'll get kind of stuck into some more finished, polished stuff in a minute, but just thinking through like different world building things that I can add to my repertoire as I'm designing some of the future elements of this world and different characters. So right now I'm thinking through some like different unique architectural elements that I could include to sort of break away from the monotony of one design. I also want to have a clear fantasy style too. So I think having some elements of like structure might be okay. I don't know. Like very minimal elements of it, and only where it makes sense to like be a part of the organic. So yeah, I mean, maybe that's like, you know, they're utilizing the terrain to their advantage instead of fighting with it. Yeah, and so maybe it's even just like a network of like different houses and families and clans that kind of like take over different areas. Maybe there's like a family tree, and it's literally a family tree, and so you have all these branches, and like each branch of the family is like a different you know, child or member of the family or something like that. So there's a lot of different things that I know that I want to have like the overall feeling of, but translating that into a style, visual design, that's what I'm working on. So got a lot of ideas. It's just taking those ideas and saying, you know, here's what we want to do. Let me see if I can actually increase this for you guys. Just might be able to see a little better. Hopefully it doesn't get too blurry. There we go. It might be a little easier to see. So yeah, just kind of thinking about like, this is a tree that like sort of fell long ago, fell in half, sort of split, and now it's like rotting. But maybe it's been petrified because it's so old, or maybe they did something to it. But maybe even this idea that like, hey, even though it's like an old tree, maybe there's like new growth or something on it. Oh, that's an idea. Yeah, I kind of like that. I like the way that that's it's a very non-traditional shape for a structure, yet we're still kind of like playing into it a little bit. And you could kind of push that and say, well, maybe there's like these like skylights, and that could be a cool, you know, play for when you're doing like interiors and stuff too. What's up, Green Zio? Thanks, man. Yeah, working on the Forest Guardians here, so trying to just think through some different like architectural elements I'm going to be working here in a minute on character designs for the druid characters, and then also working on some like alternative landscapes, kind of breaking away from the traditional straight-on forest. So yeah, I like those ideas so far. Let me play around just a little more to get warmed up here, and then we'll kind of move on to some more thought out architectural elements that we can kind of use as we're designing the world. Okay, I'm just gonna sharpen this for a minute. I just broke it. I did. Oh, was that my last piece? Well, that stinks. Let me get a new one over here real quick. These things are cool if you've never used them. They're refillable mechanical pencils. So you just take that cap off. Then you get these replaceable leads, and they have a point on them too. So you just pointy down end, in, and put the cap back on. And that opens wider there so you can make it the length you want. And there you go. Perfect. So yeah, let me just think about like some other. I like the idea of like the decay leading into like, hey, let's still make a use out of this. Like maybe they don't necessarily want to like cut into or cut down a tree, but if a tree's already fallen, then maybe they'll take advantage of that and turn that into a dwelling or, you know, a shop or something. Let's think about maybe like what a blacksmith would be. Thinking like something almost open air, maybe, and I play with this a lot, but like let me just do a little sketch here. And maybe we have this like old stump. I'll try to draw a little darker so you can see, but maybe we've got this like old stump that's like broken down in the front, and it's like a massive, almost like crater. Again, just getting warmed up here. Thinking through some different ideas that I can kind of incorporate later on. Not looking to have anything like polished or finished here. Just being real rough. So like think scale wise for this like stump in particular. Think like maybe that's human size scale. A little stick figure there. So massive. And then here, same thing, the doors you can kind of see there. That scale. So yeah, let me think here. What do I want? I don't necessarily want it closed off. But I like the idea of there being like this open sort of like area in here. I might take this to another page and make it a little bigger, but I kind of want to get the idea across here. So the idea is like kind of like a blacksmith, like a smithy shop, and maybe it's kind of like, again, taking that idea of like, you know, if you go in the woods and you lift up a log, what are you going to find under the log? What's the macro scale of that? with like a civilization, if they were thinking like being one with nature. So I think of like the different kinds of insects that like wasps and stuff that build these structures. And so like utilizing like mud and other organic elements to like build these structures. So maybe you got like a blacksmith in here who's like built this like structure within this stump. And so maybe you have like, you know, almost like a glorified pizza oven or something. So again, not sold on anything here. Just thinking through some different conceptual things that I can start to add. So kind of thinking like a path. You know, maybe he's got materials and everything else on this side, and thinking about the, you know, using what nature's kind of given you. Again, that's very messy, but maybe let's expand on that as well. So let's see. Let me do one more, just a little warm-up sketch here, and then we'll kind of maybe get stuck into some character designs. I like the idea of that blacksmith, so let me see if I can't expand on that a little better. Let's maybe think about it in the sense of that, like, I think it's called Shishugiban. I might be getting that wrong, but it's a Japanese woodworking method. Sorry, camera's going in and out here. Let's see. Coming back. It's gonna be a little shaky. There we go. Yeah, so that like Shishugiban method where you get this like, basically you burn the wood so that it lasts and it won't, if it goes through like a fire or something, it's less likely to burn down your structure. So I like that idea of almost like maybe there was a fire and this blacksmith came across this tree that was like half burnt out. And so maybe there's something to that where it's like, maybe we have this tree structure that's like mostly burned out. Again, just being very sketchy here. Not worrying too much about anything other than like the feel of what we're going for. Sorry guys, this keeps cutting out on me. I don't know why. Come on. There we go. Yeah, so maybe like there's an element of the tree up here that's been burned out, so maybe that's where like you see the smoke coming up. My creative juices are a little gone. I've been working on a mural this past week, so my brain's a little fried from being out in the heat and thinking about all that. So let's see here. Yeah, I like the idea that like maybe there is just a thoroughfare in here. And so if we think about it in terms of like a path coming up. And then you start thinking about like, oh, when you're walking up to this, maybe it's like you've got Again, just thinking about like the big picture outdoor, like the exterior look of this. I'm trying not to get too caught up in like, making it super detailed, because I just want to get an understanding of different elements that I could be utilizing as I go forward. Let's see. So obviously you've got some kind of element in here that had to be built out of stone or something. I'm almost really thinking about this in terms of like the trees and the fallen trees are almost just like a dome that goes over top of different dwellings and living spaces, but they're also open structures more or less. But maybe they've reinforced areas to ensure that, like, hey, we don't want this thing to fall down on us eventually. How can we reinforce different areas? And a lot of this, you just really got to start thinking, like, what would I do? And then take it a step farther and be like, if I was a character in this world, what would I do? That's where the world building aspect really comes into play. You really got to put yourself in the shoes of, the people who would be living here. So again, just warming up, trying to get the juices flowing. If you're just popping in, I'm working on just some different, very rough ideas to help me kind of conceptualize things for my personal project, the Forest Guardians. So what I'm doing here, this is essentially a fallen tree, kind of being utilized as a blacksmith hut, more or less. And so I think shape language and stuff too, like, there's a lot we can do to, like, convey different elements. This lead is a lot harder than I thought. I don't really like it too much. Let's look for something a little softer. Again, it's a little hard to tell the way that I'm working on this, but maybe you just have like a little glow coming from in there. Yeah, this lead is super hard. I don't know if I really love it. I'm gonna actually break the tip off of this. I think it's softer. It's that new lead. There we go. Still not great. Yeah, so kind of like that, and then maybe there's like other areas too. It's not just like the one area where like the smoke is coming out. Yeah, different things like that. And then I think just like thinking about too, like what different things we could like include here to just further build out the world. I really don't like this lead. I'm going to switch to something else. This is a thinner lead, but it's actually softer, I think. I don't like that either. Again, this might look just like a bunch of mess. This is just me warming up, getting a feel for it. I guess I've been warming up for quite a while, so maybe I should. It's hard to tell when you're just kind of in it. I think this kind of gives me an idea of the kind of structures that I want to do. You know, nothing that's like necessarily fighting against nature, I guess is the whole idea. So I'm going to work on a character design that I have for a centaur. I have actually done one version of this before, but I don't know if I'm super in love with it, so we're just going to play around with some different character designs. And I'll kind of maybe explain a little bit of my logic through the process. So I gotta remember I gotta draw a little darker because I don't know if you could see very well. This is 4K footage, so I think I can zoom in a bit. There we go. Might be a little better. Yeah, so the part that I'm maybe least slash in a weird way most confident about is character design. I think I've got good ideas. I think it's just the technical skill for certain features and certain characters I kind of struggle with, but we're going to just kind of struggle through it together for a minute. It's kind of like let's just get a generic kind of face down first, and we'll go from there. So kind of like this wide jaw for like a centaur, and then maybe we go with this wider nose. And I've sort of been doing this like kind of eye structure for these characters, where it's kind of just like a P, and then sort of just doing these eyebrow, break my lid, these eyebrow shapes here. And then I think for centaurs, do I want to have the pointed ears? I don't know. You kind of saw that a lot with like the movie Onward. If you've ever seen that, they really did a lot in that movie with like the elves and pointed ears and things of that nature. Let's just get something down. Like I said, I'm not sold on any particular design yet. But I'd like to nail down kind of a visual style, more or less. For these guys. Maybe he's like looking over that way for a minute. Kind of like the idea of this like collar. Looks like maybe signifies his position or something. Put like a symbol there. It's all very rough. Just trying to get some direction down for some different characters. I don't like him bald necessarily. I don't know if I want him like super young either, so maybe we'll kind of have one of I don't like that. Maybe just like a looks like his hairline is back here. And then, yeah, maybe we just go with this sort of what do we think? It's definitely a direction. Don't know if I'm sold. I like the square jawline. It's maybe, and I think they're going to be a very broad shouldered. Again, so this is a centaur creature, so I'm thinking through a lot of like what these kinds of characters are going to look like in this world that I'm building. So I like this idea that like maybe there's a tabard or something that hangs from their like first waist. Kind of just more to kind of help signify the rank. I feel like this guy would be like one of those ones that would just have his arms perpetually like crossed. Sorry, y'all. It keeps cutting out on me for some reason. Maybe I'll get it to stop shaking. Yeah, so I feel like he's just one that's like constantly disappointed. Maybe not disappointed, but he's definitely like, you knew what you did. You know what you're doing. That's a weird elbow. Again, staying very messy with this right now. Not too concerned about the anatomy as much as I am, but I'm trying to get a better understanding of the character and poses and overall kind of like style. Let's see, do I like kind of, yeah, almost like he's like kind of turned and looking the other way, like, what'd you say? It's like, I'm disappointed in you, you're not supposed to be talking. And I think I really like the naturalistic side of the centaurs, so like keeping them almost like more animal than human. So a lot of their wardrobe and stuff is going to be minimalistic as far as like what they're actually concerned with. Let's see, sorry, just thinking through anatomy and muscles. And centaurs aren't real, so there's a little bit of unnecessary. Yeah, it's a very official ab structure there. If you're wondering, I don't want him to be super ripped, but like he's a horse at the end of the day, so he's gonna be a little ripped. So I think he's definitely, I think, a little bit more scholarly, this particular character I have in mind. That doesn't mean he can't be a little more jacked. Definitely not full on. He's gonna have those sharp shoulders, not that much. So again, kind of thinking through, like, the jawline is pretty wide, shoulders are wide. Fix a little bit of this. I'm not detailing out like hands and fingers and whatnot. That stuff will come later. Yeah, I kind of like that general direction. I really like this like nose structure. You see that a lot in like recent shows like Wandla and stuff like that. So a lot of what's his name? Guy who did Spiderwick. I can't pronounce his last name. But yeah. So here I'm thinking definitely have this like collar thing, and it could potentially even go into like a small cape in the back. And then maybe we just have like, I don't know, do they have 2 belly buttons? I don't know. It's a good question. We'll just put in some lines there to signify that he's got some definition. Yeah. Anyways, we're not going to get too caught up in that. I don't know if I want to have nipples in my graphic novel, but hey, just nipples. One of the things I like is maybe incorporating, because this is a very like Gaelic inspired story, without all of the, you know, kind of messed up druidic, not messed up, but without all of the darker elements, I guess I should say. More of the naturalism and less animism, more just one with nature and that kind of stuff. So I like kind of having these like bangles, and maybe I even have like, instead of giving them like that sort of tattoo kind of style, maybe just on these tabards having a little bit more of a Gaelic, Celtic design. Maybe some knot work. I'm not great at knot work, so. we'll definitely, maybe just a little basket weave for now. I don't know, you get the idea. It's been a while since I've done. Yeah, you get the idea. Some kind of like element to pull that in. I don't want to go Egyptian with it, so I think that that's a fine line. It could be easy to go that route with this sort of, almost like they're in a warmer climate. Kind of like the idea that this is just like a, maybe like a hammered metal or something. The idea here is that like metal is, there's obviously like metal and there's smithing and all that stuff, but it's less of a mainstream, like everything's made and manufactured out of metal, and more of just like decorative elements. Alright, so now the part that I'm going to embarrass myself on, and that's horse anatomy. I feel pretty alright doing horse anatomy, but for this, obviously, he's way taller. So let's get the immediate sort of haunches. Almost like the front legs, so to speak. So large chest. Again, being very sketchy with it. Maybe, do we take him that way, or do we see his spine's lined up like this? So naturally he would kind of be more maybe like this. So big old haunches. Kind of barrel chest. Kind of comes down like that in the rib cage. Again, I'm not looking at any reference for this, so forgive me. It would probably turn out 20,000 times better if I had some kind of reference. But all I'm trying to do here is just get an idea. Alright. Let's get a little skewed there. So it's getting to that point where I don't even want to draw the back leg. I'm at that weird angle too, man. Why did I do this? I could have drawn this thing at any angle, and yet I chose probably the artist. Alright, so let's think about it. Alright, more or less. Again, a lot of this is going to be like simplified to the nines when I'm actually like illustrating. See, looking at the monitor there though, something doesn't look right. I think this haunches are way too high up. So one thing about art that I learned took a long time to learn. But if it's not right, don't try to make it right. Erase it, start over, look at it, say what went wrong, just get it right. And again, I'm not looking at a reference, so really I guess it's almost, I guess I could go either way with it. I feel like he's maybe, I think I just drew this at the weirdest angle, but yeah, let's maybe like we're looking up at him. I think that's probably what's happening here, because we're definitely looking up at his nose, and on the bottom side of his arms here. So I think let's do it kind of like we're more looking up at him as a whole, and almost like he's kind of this slight side stance. Oh no, this is just not going well. Why mess up in the privacy of your own home when you can mess up on YouTube and Facebook? Nah. This is the part where I would normally look up reference, but I think for the sake of this, let me just. It might be all this that's messing me up. Let's just do what I know how to do. I think it's that that's messing me up. It's that. Yeah, that's what it is. And that's it. I'm gonna say that's it, but Lord knows there's a lot more wrong with this drawing than just that. So and the fact that that's going off the front of the page, I'm not super in love with, but that looks weird. I just don't think it's big enough. For the proportion of this has to be like twice as big, I think. So I'm not going to get too caught up in it. Like I said, when I go to actually fine-tune these designs, I will have reference and I'll nail that down. But I don't mind it too much. I think it's throwing me off. Let's just lock that in. You know, if you look at it without the back haunches, it looks super weird. Oh, man. Let's see. So I think I know part of what it is. When you look at a horse, they actually kind of have like their chest muscles kind of like come down rather than like curving like that. Rather than curving in like this, they kind of curve that way in certain. I can't get the super large quad look out of my head. I can't. Oh man. I can't get it out of my head. It just looks like he has these weird legs. Which he does. That's like literally the point. Alright, so we're going to do it like this, or we're going to draw the underneath shape. So that is so he's going to be very twisted. He's like turned away one way, but then he's like looking back the other way. Super weird angle, but it's what I'm going with. So let's I figured that leg would get covered up. Yeah, so I mean you could see just how much larger that would have to be. Let's throw this leg back. Stay there. We'll do one of those. Alright. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Still kind of like throwing me off there. It's literally just... Centaurs are weird. You can't get around that. Alright, but they do have this like hip thing going on here. And I think yeah, we'll just kind of throw the tail in there. Come on, camera. Where you at? Any day now. Come on. We back? There we are. Okay. Yeah, so that's more or less. I just finagled horse anatomy for way too long. And I know that it's not exact. I'll get some horse anatomy expert in here being like, actually. And I'll be like, you know what? You're right. You should do this instead of me. They do have this like ankle bone thing here. Yeah. Anyways, can't even see that. There we go. Ugh, still off. I think this is where again, I'm trying not to get caught up in this, but I am. I'm over an hour in, so maybe I should just move on. Not on this, but about 30 minutes into this. Yeah, we'll move on. I think that leg's a little thick too for... A little better. I think it's literally just trying to match up because there's no horse neck. So I'm literally just trying to match. What's in my head is horse anatomy. Yeah, anyways, we're going to move on. I'm going to focus more on this portion of the character. So let's just do another head design, and I'm probably going to smudge this up, but oh well. So I kind of want to make a longer face, kind of like a horse. Keep that nose, that's sort of half. And again, I got this sort of like P, backwards P, kind of Q shape going on. I just want like a tired expression on them too. So sort of like the base pieces that I'm using to kind of construct characters. Because I want it to be simple to replicate. I want them to look like a Muppet though, so. One of the designs that I absolutely love is the centaur from Hercules. The Disney movie, the animated one. If you've ever seen that, I love that that design. I just think it's so well done. It's probably one of my top three Disney movies, animated maybe. Right there with Atlantis and a couple others, but definitely like Atlantis is maybe my favorite. We actually just had a conversation about that not that long ago. Alright, so do I want to play around with giving them horse ears? I mean, you might as well try it, right? Like, I could just absolutely hate it. Yeah, I absolutely hate it. But what if I give them like I think it just makes them too non-human, which is not a bad thing. Do I want to? No, he's just looking like Tigger now. I think I'll keep, but maybe I'll do a thicker ear. Something like that. I'm using my iPhone as the camera up here, which is, I guess it keeps disconnecting, so sorry about that. I kind of like, you know how you have those like intellectual types, and then they're always like almost underdressed. I kind of envision that as this guy. He's like got that sort of loose collar, you know, hanging down, but kind of bohemian, but like, but also still like, very refined, I guess. Like, think like a professor. That's kind of what I'm thinking for this guy. That's basically what he is. So subtle differences here and there. This one's definitely got some more age on him. I kind of like that, like almost like yeah, maybe sort of Greco inspired hair. Maybe he's a little more refined than the other centaurs. If you've ever read like Percy Jackson or anything like that, imagine like a Chiron, but a little more Gaelic, Celtic in design. But kind of like that. Not sold on the definitely not sold on the lips though. That's weird. Give him that little curly cute chin. Kind of a cleft. He's a little too pretty. Let's make him a little. Just crank one out here. Maybe he needs a weaker chin. No. Maybe just a more rounded chin. Maybe a little less chiseled. Got a little more detail in here too. Maybe that'll help kind of solidify what I'm going for. think maybe to like a little bit more forehead. These are all very similar, but this one has a little bit more rounded features. Kind of maybe more. I don't know. I don't like that. Don't know. What do we think? What's working? What's not? So yours definitely a little weird, but so I like the sort of like, think like a Greek philosopher. It's kind of what I'm thinking for this character. Yeah, maybe. I think the important thing for this guy is going to be what makes him stand out from other creatures like him. I think it's just going to come down to a little bit of wardrobe. I like this one for like a younger kind of guy, who's maybe more online with the main character. But this one, I think with some tweaking, this one just looks a little too handsome Squidward to me. This one kind of looks like, who's that actor's name? I don't know, but it could also be the expression that I'm not in love with. But I kind of like that, like, oh, you're coming back to me again. Maybe. I don't mind it. The more I look at it, I don't mind it. I think it's definitely not the final version. Let me just maybe do a little one here. See if I can just draw something a little different. I'm gonna go with a different shape. If there's anything to it. It's very different. Again, it's not even that different though. I mean, I think I need to try something like totally new. Just to throw me off a little bit. It looks like Steve Buscemi in a good way. That might be. I'm thinking of the other guy. I can't remember his name. I'm trying to think of what he's in, but I can't place him. But he always plays that overly tired like character. What's his name? I can't think of his name. He's in something. He's in a lot of things, but yeah, I can't remember his name. But yeah, definitely, he's got a little bit of Buscemi in him, just a little, in the eyes probably. Yeah. All right, let's try something. Let's not even look at this over here for a second. Let's just completely different. Let's I'm not gonna like the direction for a minute. I'm just gonna make some shapes. Let me make some shapes. And we'll go from there. Alright. Speed round. We've got the Genie Chen coming in here. Maybe it's a beard. Maybe that's how we make it make sense. Maybe there's a few hairs. Yeah, bearded horse. I mean, you can't go wrong with that, I don't think. Let's throw the ears on here. So I'm just trying a couple things because I'm getting a little stuck where I was. So it's definitely got a long face there, but maybe there's a little bit of a chin strap beard. That's not bad. I kind of like that. I like that look. It's a little more goofy style, like I can almost see this guy actually being like a more of like a moose esque character. Yeah, I can almost see that guy being like a moose. Anyways, which is an option. I mean, I haven't solidified anything yet, so we could make him a little more of like a moose centaur kind of thing, which would actually be kind of cool. Not gonna lie. Let's literally throwing ears on shapes. So it's almost like a what just happened kind of face. I'm not gonna lie though, I think I kind of like the idea of like the chin strap in a way. Again, just trying to come up with like totally different like sets of parameters to maybe spark something that works. So far though, this is not working as much. I don't mind the expression, but the head shape is just totally not there. But it's almost like he's like looking over something. I obviously don't mind this, but like this is funny in another way too. Like this is like the centaur Santa Claus, and then this is like the this is what I imagine like if you had the wise moose that was also Amish. It's like, you know, the no mustache look plus the nothing against Amish. I think it's a cool look. But yeah, so this one's nice. Too Handsome Squidward, little Steve Buscemi plus I can't remember that guy's name, but anyways, Amish Moose meets Santa Claus over here. I think this is a good like tertiary character, but this might be a better like secondary character. This is like that maybe another tertiary character that like just doesn't care about anything. I don't know. I like the ones I don't like. Obviously, that I think this is good, kind of proportioned wise. Like if I was grading it on like that. Sorry, camera cut out on me. Come on, camera. Where you at? There we go. Come back. There we go. I like this. There's something about this that I like. I'm not like sold on what it is, but cut out on me again. There we go. Yeah, I'm not sold on what this necessarily would be. Head shape's weird for sure, but this one I kind of like. I see him being like kind of that. Oh, hold on. That like overweight, like it's weird that he's overweight because he's a centaur. Come on, pencil. Can't get it working. Sorry, y'all. My pencil's messing up. But yeah, let me just change pencils here. That'll work. Kind of like the idea that he's just like this overweight, like, I don't know what's going on. What are you talking about? I can't have another sandwich. I only had 5. But he's a centaur. I like that idea. It's a little weird. I just imagine him like eating a sandwich. Anyways, yeah, good directions, I think. I'm gonna move on for a second. I really probably need to spend more time nailing down what I want the actual like lower half of the centaur to look like, but I kind of like the moose direction. I'm not gonna lie, that kind of resonates with me a little bit. But I'm gonna look at maybe. I don't know if I'll necessarily do any like finished pieces, but maybe look at like alternative. No, maybe I'll just do some more character designs. I kind of like building out a cast of characters. I feel like that helps me more than trying to solidify backgrounds. I feel pretty confident in that. Give me a quick second. I'm gonna try to fix my pencil for a minute. I got a ton of lead in there, so that might be the problem. That was the problem. Is it gonna stop me from putting that much lead back in there? No. Should it? Probably. But it has worked up to this point, so. There we go. Cool. Let's put this back in there, and then we'll do maybe a couple more character sketches, and then I might be calling it quits for tonight. I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time streaming when I could honestly be hanging out with my wife. So we'll do a couple more, maybe on this page, just to keep it all on here. Just give you an idea of like kind of how this process goes. Let me see if I can find where I did couple of these before. Yeah, so like you can see here with one of my main characters, Teague, go through a lot of iterations of like, you know, big nose, you know, different things, like just silly little drawings for the most part. And then like right here he's reaching for a piece of pie. Just like all these things kind of like tie in to give me an idea, and like making them a little more realistic, and then a random snowman for some reason, but then kind of solidifying in a direction for the character. So as we go along, just kind of experimenting with different things. So it's kind of what I'm doing here. I kind of want to maybe figure out what these, if I'm going to go with like the moose route, which I'll probably have like centaurs and like the moose centaurs. I know they're servitors. They're called something. Pretty sure the deer ones are, anyways. I'm not sure about moose. If you know, let me know. So let's maybe expand on this just because we can. Let's do it here, actually. So we've got a really long face. Let's actually see what. Yeah, it's just really a bean. Just a long. And then kind of maybe coming down with these like real droopy, swoopy ears. And I'm trying to figure out a way to design these characters that I can draw them repetitively and consistently. Because the last thing I want to be doing is like getting caught up in like super detailing out something. I'm going to play around with the nose shape too. I don't want to go too dog. I don't even know what a moose has that really long, almost drooping nose. And so maybe we play into that and we put the nose a lot lower than it normally would be. We just leave it a little open up here, and then we can really take the eyes up. I kind of like the idea of making the eyes a little longer than the other ones. Kind of more mimic the head shape. Sorry y'all, I had music playing, but I guess it cut out on me. That's alright. You get to listen to me talk. I'm gonna connect it. Kind of leave it open. I don't want it to be a human nose. So maybe we'll do one of those. I think too the moose nose is like kind of comically again, very rough. I'm not getting caught up in anything. This is just a little bit of experimentation for the world that I'm building for my graphic novel. I feel like the moose is just, it's gonna be happy. I don't feel like you can have an unhappy moose. I'm sure many people would disagree with that who have actually come in contact with one. Again, I need to simplify these shapes. And for some reason, I just like the cowlick. Obviously, we would adapt that to be a little different. Trying to use the proportions of, you know, oh, getting messed up again here. Come back. There we go. So again, using the proportions, so trying to keep things like in line with each other just for ease of drawing. An interesting fact I did not know until we were at our church's VBS this past week. Moose shed their antlers once a year. And I did not know that. These antlers look janky. Don't like them. But yeah, they shed their antlers once a year, and they grow back in a year. And if you've seen them, they're like massive antlers. Which is kind of ridiculous. So I feel like if I'm gonna have a character like this, I've gotta establish a visual style that's gonna be like communicate the antlers in a way, like I've done with my main character, Arlen. That's an old sketch of him, but let me see if I can find a newer one. There's a lot of random sketches, but you could see where I'm like simplifying into this like rounded, more velvety style where it's not real complex. So I need to, if I'm going to do that with like a moose-like character, I need to establish something there too. So let me maybe think about that. So, thinking maybe it's like a crest, right? Like something that actually it would probably do me pretty good to look up a picture of antlers. I don't want to, but it would do me a world of good. Moose antlers. Yeah, so I really like the ones that like splay out like crazy. Let me see if I can share my screen. Yeah. So like this, where you just have like these crazy antlers. I like that. Because we could go the more velvety route, which is kind of what I'm doing. And I think for like some of the younger like characters like that, it would make sense. But I really like this sort of like huge display here. And so it looks like they sort of like cup out like that. Instead of being like that, they sort of like almost like they could hold something, which could be a cool idea to play with. Like, you know, let's see what someone else did here. Yeah, so they could almost like hold other characters in their antlers too. So that's a really cool idea. Looking at other drawings, that kind of helps sometimes. Yeah, so I think if we just play with like stylizing that, it could be cool. Let me switch back over here. There we go. So yeah, I think let's maybe give them like hair to matches. That looks weird, but maybe not that crazy. Maybe like something a little more wild and curly. Yeah, it'll work for now. And then I think, what if we just have like kind of the shape? You know what I mean? Like if we just go with the shape and then we break it down from there. Something that I could just like lay in quickly, and then we sort of start breaking it down. Something where I could be like, oh, this character has 1, 2, 3. But then maybe another character that has the same anatomy only has like 2. And then you also are building identity with that too. Not going to get too caught up on this anymore. So I think I'm going to probably jump off here in a minute. So yeah, that could be a halfway decent way to solve that problem. Yeah, and then he could just like hold other characters, and then you could like, you know, play around with that too. Especially if he's like a little, you know, taller. For some reason I just want to give him a huge neck, but I think we're probably looking at something more in one of those ranges. I really just want to, I feel like he needs some flannel. It's like, you betcha. Alright, anyways, he's not going to have a flannel on for sure, but yeah, I think that's, you know, not this, obviously, at all. But something in that realm for the wise elder. Definitely adding some years onto him and like playing with different proportions and whatnot. But I like that idea. And I think there's something in each one of these, minus Handsome Squidward, that would work. Yeah, and then obviously what I did in the beginning, playing with some more architecture and stuff like this. I really like this that's going on here. I like that a lot. And I think playing with that idea is really going to help me out moving forward. So, all right, I'm going to, let's see, let me pull this back down. There you can see what a mess I've made over here. But yeah, that's a pretty good start, I think. I think that's all I really have time for tonight. So, thank you for joining me along. Sorry about the audio if it's been weird. Like I said, I'm using the in-camera audio, or the microphone rather, for this. I didn't have my usual microphone. But thanks for joining me. If you have any thoughts, questions, or whatever, just drop them down in the comment of the video once it's posted. And I will try to get to those next time I'm live working on this project. I'm hoping to actually get some more progress done on this story so that I can start like sketching out pages and showing you that process as well. So, anyways, thank you guys for joining me and watching along as I've been working on this. So I will